Done reading Super Dragon Ball Heroes Demon Realm Mission Chapter Dragon Ball Heroes Chapter 10. The Dark Empire arc continues with the final two chapters. This being the highlighted one of, I guess, the fathers of Goku, Broly, and Vegeta, being Zeno King Vegeta, Bardock, Timebreaker Bardock, and Paragus fighting it out on an unknown planet. The title of the chapter is Mass Saiyans, and we get a pretty cool cover page of Paragus in their Timebreaker forms. King is obviously in the previous chapters. Zeno King Vegeta got summoned to deal with, I guess, to deal with this. We found out it was actually not a flashback in current time, so that takes care of another plot point. I can't believe I forgot about this in the live reaction, but you did address the Time Patrol in the very first chapter when he was teaming up with Trunks. So of this episode of this chapter, because he came to sense the key of Zeno King Vegeta, part of the Timebreaker mask was shattered, and I guess they left it for Bardock being Toa and Mira, because he's like, could those two be up to something yet again? Because obviously I've called back to Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. Toa and Mira are the ones that actually brought Bardock before being destroyed by a Frieza. You see Zeno King Vegeta firing a blast at Paragus, and what's very interesting about this chapter is until the mask was come off of Zeno King Vegeta, neither of them knew who each other were, with the exception of Bardock and Paragus. They didn't know it was King Vegeta behind the mask until he was pretty much shattered, and he broke it himself. So to think, and Paragus says to think I was controlled, but laughable. So he says he's going to get to the Demon Realm and get Broly back. Just lying away, not knowing that Broly took an L in the previous chapter, so he's face down. So was Goku. So, and it's appropriate timing considering these three are going to be plot points within the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, with obviously Bardock, the Dragon Ball Minus version of Bardock, obviously King Vegeta, his treachery, and obviously what he's going to do to Broly, and obviously Paragus and him looking for revenge. It's pretty much the same thing here, only a different context. But I like how everything got resolved. The old cliche, the sins of the fathers, in this case, getting pretty much concluded, and that being wrapped up in the story of this arc. So we see this is the MV Dark Mask King, and obviously Paragus stood no chance. I mean, one hand just blocks Paragus, and he's about to fire an energy blast. In comes Bardock with a save, kicks him right in the face. It breaks part of his mask, and Bardock's like, pathetic, I'll break that mind control for you. He knows what that's like, and he did it himself, which is interesting. It seems like the Saiyans can't have a tougher time of trying to keep the Saiyans under control with his Timebreaker mask. Bardock managed to break it of Toa and Mira in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. As soon as that thing broke, he was able to take Mira into that wormhole, into the time rift dimension. Obviously King Vegeta here is like laughing because he's like a low class Saiyan like you, and you see the dark aura resonating around King Vegeta, and he's like, don't get the wrong idea, I wanted this power for myself so I could become the ultimate Saiyan King. So he tears off his robe, and a beastly panel with King Vegeta, and I don't think he ever had that red hair. Paragus and Bardock shot to find out it's King Vegeta, and I've already gained the power to control even this darkness. So he has some control, and he fires a blast, sends Bardock flying, and obliterates most of the planet, and tears most of his armor. And Paragus is just watching, and this is kind of ambitious. It's like, I think he could do this, but King Vegeta pretty much says that he's going to go back to that era and defeat Frieza, who drove the Saiyans to extinction. Then he pretty much brings up the whole thing about Beerus, and I love the attention to detail here, because the referencing what happened in the Battle of Gods, where King Vegeta got humiliated as pretty much his servant in that regard. So it meant that I like how that ties itself up as well, but I don't think he would have stood much of a chance against Beerus anyway. Bardock's like, our powers are too far apart, so if only I had more strength. So he puts on the Timebreaker mask, and obviously we know what happens. The darkness takes over him. It says it in this chapter, and even if I have to use this power again, I'm going to stop you. So obviously Bardock unleashing the power that he was as a Timebreaker. I can feel myself getting taken by darkness. Boom, powers up Super Saiyan 3, not Super Saiyan, not Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3. We've seen this before. It's an awesome beastly power for Bardock. Obviously, it's fan service purposes anyway, but nobody's going to complain. A lot of people wanted this Bardock in the Broly movie. Instead, we're getting minus, which is fine, but people did appreciate this version even more. I did too. And he goes right in for King Vegeta, which is interesting to bring up Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, because one of the secret missions after the main story is we see a fight between Mira and Timebreaker Bardock in the time rift. This is in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. He goes into each stage, Super Saiyan 2, and then Super Saiyan 3. I find that very ironic considering that Dragon Ball Heroes did it first, and you can't really say that, is it coincidence that they just happen to include a Timebreaker version of Bardock as a Super Saiyan 3? I don't think so. I think they know exactly what they're doing, which is why I don't understand why they can't have a Xenoverse 3 with a Dragon Ball Super or Dragon Ball Heroes storyline added to it. That ever happened, but you can see the similarities here. So, and obviously giving King Vegeta a hard time as Super Saiyan 3, of course, and he comes in with the attack. It looks like he blocks it with his elbow, and then in comes Paragus from behind, and I look. This is another callback, and I love the attention to detail here. He stabs him in the side, and if you remember, it was King Vegeta that stabbed Broly in the chest when he was born as a baby, right? And Paragus, obviously looking for revenge, he stabbed him in the side, and then King Vegeta realizes it was Paragus at that point, but it didn't really affect him at all. He just blasted Paragus into oblivion. That's the end of Paragus for real this time. And then in comes Super Saiyan 3 Bardock, obviously Timebreaker Bardock, fully charged, attacking King Vegeta. They fire key energy blast at one another. They take out themselves and the planet it was on. So that gets resolved. Then we shift over to the Demon Realm by the end of this chapter, where you see Mechikabura and Salsa flying towards, I guess, the palace where the Dragon Balls are. Seems like things have wrapped up with, obviously, Bardock, Paragus, and obviously King Vegeta, so that we can move forward and part of the story can move into its final chapter with the dragon being summoned and the time of our resurrection is at hand, and that's where the chapter leaves off. And great setup, great spotlight for obviously Bardock, King Vegeta, and obviously Paragus to wrap up their stories. Regardless if it's Dragon Ball Heroes, we've got a big sense of closure here between the three fathers, leaving obviously, which is pretty much where Dragon Ball Super Broly is going to kick into high gear. We're going to get more in depth onto what their connection was. I mean, we know some bits already, but we're going to get the full story in the movie, so I can't wait for that. This was a great callback, and great to see these characters in the spotlight for this chapter. And let me know your yes, but would you want to see this Bardock in Dragon Ball Super make a return, make a reappearance like this? Because I would, but that's just me. So, and it could. Let me know what you guys think down below. That's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Like this review if you did. Subscribe to the channel for more Dragon Balls Heroes. Catch you guys later. Bye.